All right, church family. Hey, good morning. Happy Wednesday. It is July the 15th, and I'm happy to bring you another midweek encouragement. So, this week I wanted to share a little bit of clarification, give a little bit of information about our plans for these forums, Committed Christians, current events, give you a little bit of the why. Why are we having these conversations? Give you a little bit of the how are we going to do it, and when. You got some information in email, but just wanted to expand on that a little bit, and then give a little bit of encouragement, just about, again, how to live a Christian life in today's world with our identity being in Jesus and seeking to faithfully live out the mission he's given us, even when it's difficult and it's all new for us. So as far as the information, so by now we're having, from now until about mid-September, we're having a series of conversations that are going to be, 1 week is an Ask the Elders segment where we're going to talk about it as elders. And then the next week is going to be a church-wide forum on Zoom. And those, by the way, one piece of information I didn't give you, those are going to be at 6:30 Wednesday nights on Zoom. So if you need help with the Zoom platform, call us up at the church. Call me personally, text me or something, and I'll be glad to help you if you don't know how to do that yet. Haven't had to yet. But the reason we're doing it that way, there's a philosophy, there's an intentionality behind it, and that is to first look at content and then look at context. Okay, so when we talk about the content of Scripture and of faith, and then the context, this is what I mean. So when we talk about our identity being in Jesus, when we talk about living a life of faith, out of a trust that we have in Jesus, taking faith-filled risks, living in a world of change, with the changeless mission and person of Jesus. Here's what the content has to do with that. The content of Jesus, of course, would be who he is. This is just some examples. His attributes. He is holy. He is righteous. He is just. He is eternal. All those things. The content of Jesus. The content of what he reveals to us about his mission for us in Scripture. That we are to go. That we are to be proactive. That we are to be risk takers for the kingdom. That we are to love. That we are to be a people of relationship, of reconciliation, of forgiveness, of unity, of peace, all those things. That's the content of the Christian life. And the content is what stabilizes us. It's what does not change. Now, the context, of course, changes frequently. And that's what we've talked about for at least the last 2 Sundays. But what all of us have felt and experienced is our local context, our personal context changing. And so part of what we're struggling through, walking through, praying through, seeking Jesus through together is how do we have the content of Scripture in the Christian life, and now in this context, apply it, live it out, be faithful to Jesus, be faithful to the mission he's put us here for. So in these examples that we looked at from Jesus's life on Sunday, I gave you 5 examples. All of those were the content being Jesus is proactively living out his identity and his mission. He's the Son of God sent to seek and save the lost. And so in all these, he's proactive in his birth. He's proactive in his dealing with the crowds. He's proactive in talking to his disciples. He's proactive to go to Calvary. He's proactive after his resurrection to seek and find his disciples. So the nature of Jesus is the content, right? It doesn't change. Now, the context for all those was different. His birth, being with the crowds, being in private, Calvary, the resurrection, all those, the scenery changed, but the content of Jesus, stayed the same. The identity, the mission, the purpose, all that is what guided his context instead of the other way around, where the context dictates the content. So in these private conversations that you have, and in these now public conversations that we're going to have as a church, the prayer is that our Ask the Elder segments on these topics would be looking at some content. So here's the content, and obviously we're going to be relating it to the context. But what does the Bible have to say? What does Scripture tell us? What would Jesus have us to know that relates to what we're doing? And then the following Wednesday, when we have the forum, more of the open discussion, it's taking what we've already seen as the content of Scripture. This is what, God says to us, and then applying it to the context. And how in the world do we do this? This is what Scripture says, but this is the world we live in. How do we make it work? So one of the goals is not just to have conversations, about current topics and current events, and even, some topics that have strong opinions either way, but it's to look at our context, the world that we live in light of Scripture. What does Scripture say? How do Christians live? Who is God? That kind of thing. And in this particular context, in this situation, how do we live it out? So that's kind of the idea, is we're looking to take the content of Scripture that tells us about Jesus, that tells us about his mission, and apply it to the context of everyday life. And as we saw, and as we looked at Sunday together in the life of Jesus, the context changes, but the content, stays the same. The identity, the mission, the purpose, all that stuff stays the same. So I hope you can join us. These conversations that we're having are primarily for our church family, but we want to invite anybody who wants to join. These are things that people are wrestling with. I was just talking to someone today, and we were talking about how in the last 6 months, the whole world has changed. The whole context is different. And so every single one of us in different ways are wrestling with it. How do we take the content of the Christian life and live it out faithfully in our current context? So that's kind of the big picture. And the goal is not just to have talk, but eventually is to come together as a church in the absence of being able to physically assemble and seek God for what would he have us to do. Some of these questions and some of these conversations have an action, attached, as what should we do? And so as we're talking about these, as you're thinking about these, as you're praying about these, one of the things we don't want to neglect is the living out the mission of Jesus on our lives and his mission for the church. And it's hard and it's different in this current world, but the mission is still there. So I hope you can join us. Those will be, tomorrow we will be releasing our first Ask the Elders video on the question of COVID-19. Let me pull up the exact question that we're going to look at. So tomorrow is going to be, as Christians, how do we balance concern for personal liberty with concern for being good citizens? Okay, so tomorrow there'll be an Ask the Elders video about that. And then the following week, Wednesday night, that would be July the 22nd at 6:30 via Zoom, we'll have conversations about that. But be praying about that. We're looking to take the content of Scripture and apply it to the context of our lives in a way that we can be faithful. And it's hard, and it's new, and it's weird, and it's different. But God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. So as we have these conversations, be praying about that. We're looking at some action questions like, how should our church respond to things? On the topic of evangelism, that's our fourth topic. How can we evangelize? How can we share the good news of Jesus with those around us? This is a must. This is part of the mission of Jesus on our life. So be thinking, praying about these, and I'm always here if you would like to talk, if you feel the need to talk, something you're wrestling with, and our elders are as well. So reach out to us. But we love you. We're praying for you. That's kind of the idea. New context, same content. God, what do you want us to do? So looking forward to having those conversations with you, and we'll send the first one out, or Ask the Elders, tomorrow. So be looking for that. All right. Love you. God bless you. Praying that you will sense God's presence as you seek to live out his mission of being an ambassador for his kingdom in this brave new world. So God bless you. Talk to you soon.